You know, here's a wild thought that most people in finance probably never stop to think about. Every single time money moves, whether you're paying a supplier or settling a deal, there's an invisible story traveling right alongside it. It's not just data, it's the context, the why. And for about 30 years, that story has been trapped, completely squeezed into a language that was, well, basically broken.
So what if it could? I mean, what if every dollar, every euro, every yen that shot across the globe could tell you exactly what it was for, who sent it, and precisely what you needed to do with it, all automatically? That's the huge question we're going to dig into.
Because for decades, the entire story of our money was forced into the digital version of an old school tweet. Just 140 characters to explain everything. That's the world we're finally leaving behind. So let's explore what that really felt like for the people dealing with it every single day. To really get this revolution, first we gotta step back in time. We have to go back to the old world, a world that ran on a system called SwiftMT. And let me tell you, it was a world just filled with daily headaches and frustration for anyone trying to manage serious money. It really all boils down to this one single number, 140. That was it. That was the character limit in the main remittance field of an MT-103 payment, which was the workhorse of global finance. We're talking less space than a text message to explain complex, multi-invoice corporate payments. It was nuts. And you can just imagine the human cost of this, right? Finance teams were literally cramming everything into that tiny field, invoice numbers, POs, tax IDs, using all these weird abbreviations and codes that only they understood. And the result was a nightmare. Data got chopped off, systems couldn't read it, and real people ended up manually matching payments line by line, pulling late nights. And sending money across borders? Oh, that was even worse. Think of it like that childhood game of telephone, but you're doing it with millions of dollars. A payment would leave London looking perfect, but by the time it bounced through a couple of other banks and landed in Mumbai, key info like the payment purpose code could be totally gone. The money shows up, but its meaning? Poof, lost along the way. But, out of all that frustration, a whole new architecture was born. It's called ISO 2022 XML. And look, this is not just some small upgrade. It's a completely new language for money. Okay, and here's the really crucial part to understand. ISO 2022 isn't just about making the fields bigger. It's a whole new grammar. The best way to think about it is like moving from a single messy line of text to a set of Lego blocks. Now, every single piece of information, the invoice number, the customer ID, the purpose code, gets its own dedicated, structured, machine-readable block. Boom, boom, boom. And that right there gets to the absolute heart of this whole thing. For years, we were all just so focused on moving the money from A to B. But the real power, the real potential for all the cool automation and intelligence is in the data that travels with it. And you can see the difference right here, clear as day. On the left, you've got the old MT world, a jumbled, unstructured mess of text that a computer has to basically guess at. On the right, the new XML world, perfectly structured, tagged data that any system on the planet can understand instantly. It is literally the difference between ambiguity and absolute clarity. Okay, so what does all this clarity actually get you in the real world? Well, it means we can finally move away from this ambiguous data that needs a human to look at it and move towards structured information that can actually drive automated action. I mean, just look at the raw numbers here. With the old MT940 bank statements, a typical company might see about 2/3, so 67% of its incoming payments automatically clear in their accounting system. With the new ISO 20022 format, called CAMPT.53, that jumps all the way to 94%. That is a massive leap in efficiency. It frees up entire teams from mind-numbing manual work. And this isn't just helping one department. The impact is felt right across the entire finance function. Accounts payable and receivable teams, they stop chasing down remittance details. Treasury, they get a way clearer picture of their cash. And compliance can screen payments based on clean, structured data, which dramatically cuts down on all those annoying false alarms. What this really all means is we're seeing this fundamental shift for every single team. We are moving from a world of manual, risky work to one of automation and total transparency. So for Treasury, that means reliable cash positions they can actually trust. For compliance, fewer false positives. And for AP and AR, it means cash is applied to invoices automatically, which is pretty much the holy grail of cash application. So let's zoom out for a second and look at the big picture. Because embracing ISO 2022 isn't just about hitting some deadline from Swift. No, it's about shifting the entire finance function from being this reactive, compliance-focused group to being a proactive, strategic powerhouse. Now, we have to be real for a second. The world is still messy. You've got different countries, different banks, all adopting this new standard at different speeds, with their own little local quirks. So the crucial takeaway here is this. ISO 20022 organizes the complexity. It gives you a framework to manage it all, but it doesn't just make it magically disappear overnight. But for the companies that really get this right, the strategic payoff is immense. We're talking about collecting cash faster, having cash forecasts you can actually rely on, and lowering risk across the board. And even more exciting, this rich, structured data is the foundation. It's the bedrock for the next wave of cool stuff. AI-driven reconciliation and truly predictive cash flow modeling. And this all comes down to a really critical mindset shift, which is captured perfectly in this idea here. If you treat this whole thing as just another IT project, you're going to get all the cost without any of the value. But if you see it for what it truly is, a fundamental transformation of your working capital and data strategy, the benefits are an absolute game changer. So at the end of the day, it really just leaves one big question on the table, a question that every single finance and technology leader needs to answer. The infrastructure is changing, the standards are changing, and expectations are changing. So are you designing your payments and your systems to simply comply with this new world, or are you designing them to lead it?